What is up, you guys? It's your girl Robin. Welcome back to my channel. Today it is July 8th. Your girl is 28 weeks in 2 days. Show y'all a baby bump. If y'all can see, I got on some leggings. That's maternity. We finna get ready to go to our prenatal appointment and to our childbirth class. It is, well, we gotta be there at 8:30, so it's 8 o'clock right now. And I'm also doing my glucose test, so when I first get there, I will be drinking that drink. Hopefully it's not nasty. Today finna be a long day. I also had to fast, you guys, so I haven't eaten anything since like 11:30 yesterday night. I'm not hungry right now, but I'm pretty sure I will be once I get there. And we also gotta bring a pillow, so I'm bringing my purple pillow. I'm not bringing my pregnancy pillow because I don't know if we're supposed to bring that big old thing. Oh look, can y'all see me? Look like my camera fogged up. So you guys, we made it. It smells good in here. I got my pillow, the silk pillowcase. Going up. My favorite elevator. Look who here, you guys.
I hate it. I hate it.
You told me you changed my appointment. I was like, to come at 9, and you was like, get here early at 8:30.
So you can drink this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My labor unfold to look like? What will that journey be like? How long will I be in labor for? Right? And all these different components. But the hope is that you feel empowered through something like our time together, through doula that you may be working with, through the midwives you're working with, and all these different aspects of your own. You know, you did research to get here. So I know that you've all, you know, you didn't just come here blindly, right? So all of these things work together towards feeling empowered and feeling hopefully encouraged, right? Because if we don't know our options, we don't have any. It's going to be on a slide in one of our classes together, because I feel strongly about that. Knowing our possibilities, knowing what options are out there, and then we can either, you know, we can know what we're choosing and we can know what we're not. Assistant to labor most of the time, right? Not like the movie where it's sudden. Usually we're like, am I in labor? I don't know, I'm just going to keep moving around. Oh, I think I might be in labor. Should I call anybody? Right? Your body generally eases you into it. And then it's generally intermittent, at least as we're working up to maybe the more intense parts, right? Where it comes in waves. Some folks prefer to call their contractions waves because it will come and increase and then flow away, and increase and flow away. And it's intermittent in that sense, and it's built in. You didn't talk to your body about it in the sense of, we're gonna go into labor, don't hurt me too much, and can you just give me a little break in between? Like, your body knows. Your body does that. Even though it doesn't always feel like that, you know, sometimes when labor gets more intense, it can feel like the contractions are on top of each other. But in that general sense,
Educate yourself on the process.
educate, prepare,
Create boundaries.
okay, yeah. Know what you need,
Mm-hmm.
what works for you. Okay. Anything else?
Meditation, affirmations.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Any other thoughts?
Breathing.
Breathing? Yeah. Breathing. Okay. These are good. Acknowledging if we have fear. Not trying to pretend it's not real, sweep it under the rug, hide it away. Well, I'm planning a home birth. I don't want anyone to know that I actually am a little nervous. That's not helping us, right? You know, everybody thinks I'm crazy for planning a home birth. I can't admit that, you know, I have concerns, right? If you don't have concerns, fantastic. If you don't have underlying fear, that's a great place to be starting from, right? But if you do, ignoring it will not be helping you in the long run. If you ever check out Ida May's book, That Guide to Childbirth book that I mentioned, she has a lot of anecdotes in there from births that she's attended, babies she's caught. And one of the births in particular, she talks about, there was nothing wrong. Everything was going as well as any labor could. And for some reason, it kind of took a hard stop. Can you name them for me? When you think of relaxation, what do you think of?
Physical, mental, and emotional.
Very good. That's the three, yeah. Physical is often what we most quickly our minds go to when we think of childbirth. Because it's a very physical, they call it labor for a reason, it's a very physical act. And often what's discussed at the forefront when we're talking about birth is the physical aspects of it. The possible, the discomforts, the pain, how do we manage positions and things like that. And that is all valuable to discuss and plan for. Sometimes we have very well-intentioned loved ones who want to be there out of all their outpouring of love, but maybe that's not best for us to happen in the room. Or friends, it's not that you don't love them, but is that who you need to feel safe in your room? Or is that disruptive in an unintentional way, right? Thinking about that, protecting the space. I think we said that a little bit earlier when we talked about choosing to birth at home. Thinking about having our environment set up as ideally as possible for us, right? And being able to control that environment as much as possible. Who's in the room is part of it. Like during the pregnancy, you may have had to do this, right? And then in the labor, in the birthing experience. I don't know if you've already started listening to anything that has to do with like pregnancy affirmations or birth affirmations. You start it now. Okay, start it now. Find what works for you now. The words of affirmation that work for you to say to yourself. The words of affirmation or encouragement that it helps for you to see on your bathroom mirror, on a post-it, on your phone save screen, every time you go to open your phone 100 times a day. You have to get past those words of affirmation first, on your dashboard, in your car. What works for you is a very individual thing. I'm going to bring out some examples. My body is capable and strong. Super simple. Breathe in, breathe out. Saying it to ourselves, like, what am I going to do right now? I'm just going to breathe in, and then I'm going to breathe out. I can do anything for 60 seconds. Thinking about it. My baby and I are working together. This is hard work. Handle it. Right? Another very
sounds around you. Even being aware of the sounds within yourself. Now bring to your mind your intention,
So you guys, it's been an hour since I took the drink. The drink was actually good. It wasn't that bad, as you seen that I drank it up fast. Now I'm finna get plucked.
Pluck away. On that.
You didn't see any in here. That's why I was like, if you go in there, there's some. Oh, no. There's needles somewhere. I just gotta find them. Which one's your good one?
Victoria did this one last time.
They both are fine. Let's see one here and here.
Oh, my bad.
And squeeze. And roll this way towards me. There you go. There we go. You said 175. She's 175. Stacy. I mean, Stephanie. Okay. What's next? Ready? You okay up there? Okay.
I just don't like the top one, the initial.
At 44. I got big juicy veins. I think I did this to somebody last time. They just squirted everywhere. It's all good.
You trying to steal my blood?
I know. But not really. They just jump. They're so hyper and you stuck in it. You said, which is excellent. I appreciate that. I do.
That's it?
That's it. Questions for me today? Chilling like a villain.
Chilling like a villain.
Well, how do I know if I pass? You tell me?
I'll tell you. Stay laying down because I take your blood pressure and all that. It's okay. I said, girl, there was people here. I said, girl, honey, this is our own time people. They on time. They're not like some more other folks. They don't be on time. They're be on time early. Is it go? Okay, there you go.
$93, $55, and $84.
Very good.
It was probably a little higher. All that left.
But that laughing brings it down.
Oh,
So,
okay.
if you were crying, it'd be up.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Tender.
Good, 29 and a half. She's 29 and a half, baby. Take this.
The baby heavy, dang. I figured it. Well, I thought that.
Yeah, you feeling most of your heavy movement at the top.
Mhm.
Good. Hey. It's a girl, right?
Oh no.
Oh, well, that's my guess.
She funny.
You ain't changed it yet.
I haven't? Oh, yeah, today it really feels that way. Yeah, she had a baby. 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I know. You don't want it. I know. All right, I'm done. 153 to 157. I know. React is very beautiful. I would say more ROA. Okay.
So when you feel it, like you should be pressing down. Kind of.
Back is here. I think his or her hands are supposed to hit me, but the feet are here. We're good.
Dang.
We're good.
I gotta go pee now.
I was finna ask you if you answered. So how'd you feel about the whole plucking?
No one bad. She did good too. I didn't really feel that. I glad I got that over with. Hopefully I passed. She said she'll let us know. Now I gotta go pee after all that pushing on my stomach.
If you think your water broke, noting the amount is helpful information. I went to the bathroom and I think my water broke, but I'm not sure. Maybe it trickled out a little bit. Or I was laying in bed and I felt like a balloon burst and it all gushed out. Right? Noting the amount just to give your care provider more information so you can make decisions together about what's best in your birth. Okay? And then the time is very important to note for when water breaks. Okay? Especially if the water breaks prior to the onset of labor. That's very important to know. Okay? Because it does give us a bit of a timeline once our water breaks. One of these barriers that our body has used throughout the pregnancy to keep babies safe has come away. So if labor doesn't start, then they want to know that, right? Measuring contractions, you can download an app for it. I don't have a specific recommendation. They've changed so much over time. There's always different ones out there. But you can download an app and that can keep your log for you, kind of, which can be nice. You can just use the timer on your phone. But what you want to do is have an idea. Again, we think we're in labor. We think we're seeing a pattern start to come on with our contractions, right? Our water did or didn't break. All of these things are just good information to take note of, and then we can share that information when we call our midwife, when we call our doula, so they have a better picture of what we're experiencing, right? If we just call, right, I think I'm in labor, oh my goodness, I don't know my water broke. How can they respond to that? I'm panicking. So then they think something's wrong, right? Right? So time and contractions is one aspect of that. Now, I don't want anybody ever to spend all their time timing every last contraction for the length of the labor. We're spending too much time looking at the clock if we're doing that. We saw in the video the mom that was laying down, and she said another one was coming on, and her husband very diligently went to get his phone to time it, and she was like, no, don't let go, because he was applying counter pressure to her lower back that she felt was helping her during the contractions. So instead of prioritizing timing of contractions, he prioritized what his wife needed, the physical, the acupressure he was applying to her lower back, right? So you do need to have an idea, a concept, a snapshot of contractions. This is good information, but we don't want that to be the sole focus, right? We want to be looking more towards mom than only at the clock or the timer. So prodromal labor can happen in any labor experience. It can be quite common in first-time moms, but it doesn't mean you'll experience it necessarily. There's no really telling, just like we don't know necessarily when we will go into labor or when we will birth. There's no telling if you may or may not experience what would be called prodromal labor. You've always had a cervix, and never in your life have you talked about it more than when you're going to be in labor, okay? It's the neck of the room, right? The womb, right? So we know in our necks that hold up our head, there's also an area called the cervix, right? But this is the neck of the womb, and we see how this is quite closed and thick, right? It's a layer of protection that keeps baby safe. It's closed during pregnancy, okay? As a note, cervical exams should always be done with your permission and consent. And the purpose of them is to, during pregnancy potentially, or especially during labor, to determine cervical change. So what are we checking when a cervix is being checked? Effacement, the thinning out. We see the graphic on the left that's thick, kind of like our first image was, and on the right, we see an effaced cervix. So cervical effacement is discussed in percentages. 100% effaced is a fully effaced cervix. So if you have a cervical exam and you hear that, you know, oh, she's 70%, 70% thinned out. Okay, 0% is not effaced. In early labor, this is the longest stage of labor. 0, not dilated, not effaced, to 6 centimeters dilated. Now, what's interesting is you can walk around dilated without being in labor. It's not uncommon, especially in subsequent pregnancy and birth experiences, for a mom to be a centimeter and not in labor for a week or 2 centimeters, okay? Sometimes when our body's done it before, it more readily, easily goes to that place, but that where your cervix is currently doesn't tell you the timeline of how labor will unfold. So on the left, we see the cervix is effaced and it's opening. And on the right, we're seeing a dilated cervix. Okay, see the opening, we're giving baby an exit. Okay.
So we're gonna put this. Oh, I don't broke.
If it breaks, I'll get you another one. They break all the time.
Mine broke.
Who's mine? Yours? Yeah.
That fast.
That's what they do.
You did it. Mine broke.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Can you do it, boy?
Let me do it.
Oh, and I will say, everyone, if you're comfortable on the mat, feel free. But if you want to switch it up again, like, you know, sit wherever you want.
My balloon broke.
Who said, okay, another? Here you go.
You gotta blow up your
Our ping pong ball is our baby's head. Okay? Our balloon is our uterus. And here, the bottom part that you normally tie off on the balloon, that's the cervix. Okay? So you have practice labor contractions. What does that feel like? What is, anyone who's experienced it, could you describe to us what it feels like? So Braxton Hicks or practice labor contractions. It's a contraction, right? Your uterus is like a bag, for lack of a better word, a bag of muscles, right? It's made of muscles. So a contraction is the squeezing, right? The tightening and the releasing of a muscle. So practice labor, your uterine muscles are contracting, right? And you can feel it. If you experience the Braxton Hicks, you can place your hand on your belly, or somebody else could, and feel that the belly has gotten harder, right? You can note that, but it's not typically something that's gonna like lay you out, right? Like it's typically something that's like, oh, well, that happened. But you just kind of keep it moving after that. And we don't see a pattern with practice labor contractions, right? Remember the video said, if you start to notice a pattern and you're earlier than 37 weeks, you start to see like 4 contractions in an hour. We want to take note of that, let the care provider know, and maybe make our way to getting checked out, right? So in practice labor, it is contractions. That's why I don't love the term false, right? Because it's not, your uterus isn't falsely contracting. But what it's not doing is it's not affecting change to the cervix, okay? So the practice labor contractions, the Braxton Hicks, if you squeeze your balloon, that's kind of what it is. We see like a squeezing, a tightening of the muscles, but nothing happens to our cervix, okay? When we're having true labor contractions, what actually is happening is how does the cervix thin and how does it dilate? It doesn't just pop open, right? The uterine muscles start to draw and gather at the top of the uterus. And as they do that, as they're drawing up and bearing down, they're opening up the cervix, thinning out the cervix. Baby's head, if baby is head down and in our optimal position, which they most commonly are, is as the uterus bears down, baby's head is applying pressure to the cervix. All of these moving parts are working together to dilate, open, and to efface, thin the cervix. So as we have true labor contractions, and the contractions, the uterine muscles are bearing down from the top, we start to note cervical change. Now my cervix is thinning, okay? It's a balloon, so it's not precisely the same, right? But we can see the visual a little bit better. I love whoever came up with this. So the uterine muscles start kind of drawing up and gathering at the top and bearing down, and little by little over time, the cervical change starts to take place. Baby's descending, the cervix is thinning, the cervix is opening, okay? Sometimes our balloons are cooperating, sometimes they don't. But hopefully the concept is there. So each contraction comes as a wave and bears down. Face, nearly 100% of face. Contractions are continuing, right? I'm breathing through them, using different comfort measures through them. I found my rhythm in my labor, my ritual that's working for me. And as they bear down, little by little, baby's descending, and then baby will crown, and then I'll have a baby. I love this visual. It shows us what is happening. It's just contraction. It's just the word. You have a baby too. Practice labor, right? True labor. So keep breathing. You're doing so good.
Oh, shoot.
So again, talking a little bit more about the cervix. What is being checked in a cervical exam? We also offer reassurance and support. You don't have to wait till labor gets to like the hard part to just all of a sudden then I'll be supportive. Start now, right? Ease into it, and then it becomes more natural that you've already been doing it. You've already been practicing these things in the pregnancy and early labor. So as intensity increases, we've been doing this. We're just gonna maybe step it up a little. We're just gonna, right? Get a little more focused, okay? Offer distractions, laugh. We saw our mom snacking, we saw our other mom packing her hospital bag. You know, you don't have to just stand still in time because labor might be starting, right? If everything is okay, there's no cause for concern, you know what you're experiencing so you can relay that information, and then you do what you feel comfortable and safe doing, okay? Take care of yourself, partners, okay? So we talked about early labor being 0 to 6 centimeters. Active labor is generally recognized as about 6 to 8 centimeters. Early labor contractions, maybe 30 minutes apart, all the way down to about 5 minutes apart, right? Lasting for 30 seconds, 45 seconds. As we enter into active labor, they are longer, 45 to 60 seconds. They are closer together, 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes apart. This is active labor, okay? Whereas before you felt up to going for a walk in the neighborhood. You felt up to playing, a game and having a snack. often as we enter active labor, we're not as interested in these things. What you'll notice in a lot of these videos of these moms laboring, early labor, they're smiling, they're talking. In active labor, they may be talking, but we see a lot more eyes closed, right? We see a lot more inward focus on what they're experiencing. It's taking all of their attention, demanding all of their attention. You're not going to get an award or a gold star for timing every single contraction that mom experienced the whole entire time, right? That's taking away your attention from mom and baby. We want to get that snapshot of contractions so we can share that good information with our medical team, with our birth team, but you don't have to get every last contraction. Get a snapshot, time them for 30 minutes, an hour, and then, let that be until you start to notice, that things have certainly kind of progressed. I see it without looking at the clock. Maybe I should look at the clock again, okay? Help keep mom comfortable, make suggestions, positions, comfort measures. So sometimes it's hard. Sometimes mom knows exactly what she'd like to do, what she'd like to try. And sometimes we can be, as a laboring person, like, I don't know, this isn't working, but I don't know what I want, right? As a support person, I can say, what would you like to do? I'm seeing this. I've seen for the past 4 or 5 contractions, it seems to be getting harder and harder for mom in this position that she's in. I see the intensity in her face, right? The tension building physically. I'm seeing this, observing this. Maybe I'll ask, would you like to change positions? We're in between contractions. Can I help you change positions? Maybe mom knows. Fantastic. Yeah, I want to go from here to here. Help me get up. Help me go, Maybe she's clear, and that's very helpful as a support person, right? Maybe she's not clear. What can I do as a support person? I can make a suggestion. She wasn't sure what she wants to do. I know that she's been sitting on the birth ball for a while now. Seems to be getting harder to cope in this position. Maybe we ought to try standing. So we can ask what mom might be interested in. She may or may not be clear. If she's not clear, we can suggest a possibility that we think is a reasonable possibility based on what we're observing. And if that's not a clear response, like a clear affirmative yes, we can go ahead and make an educated suggestion and kind of make it happen. And she's either going to go along with it, or then it's going to be a hard no.
You're probably feeling a little anxious about labor and how you'll cope with the pain. In this chapter, Understanding Comfort Techniques, you'll learn about natural pain relief methods that really work. One helpful comfort technique is massage. Start massage early in labor so you get used to the touch before contractions get too strong. Support people should use firm pressure to work any tension out of your muscles. Once you feel the sensation of the massage, pleasure signals rush to the brain and block pain signals, which is one reason it works so well during labor. Massage has other benefits too. It increases blood flow, takes your mind off the pain, and helps you relax.
The golden hour. Does everybody know what the golden hour is? Exactly. So that sometimes it's called the 4th stage of labor, but that golden hour is the first hour after baby was born. We're bonding, we're counting fingers and toes, or maybe initiating breastfeeding, okay? So this is the part we're going to start with. Now, if I tell you freedom of mobility, so what this part is having the freedom to choose, as I'm laboring, what positions I might like to be in, being able to move around, not being restrained to a particular position, or being told you have to just sit in the bed and stay there, okay? So if you had to choose, which in a typical labor you wouldn't have to choose one over the other, but if you had to choose, would you say that freedom of mobility is more important than the golden hour to you, or less important? More important?
Mm-hmm.
Agreed?
Agree.
Okay. So freedom of mobility is more important than the golden hour? Okay. So how about avoiding a cesarean? Would you say that that's more important than freedom of mobility and golden hour? More important than the golden hour? Or less important than both?
More important.
Because at the top?
Yeah.
Consensus? Okay. So right now, with our 3 cards, if you were forced to choose, this would be of highest priority, avoiding a cesarean. And then having the freedom of mobility while you're laboring, and then having the golden hour, that first hour after baby's born. How about freedom for labor to progress naturally without time constraints? So not being kind of pitted against the clock with no reason. You know, everything's fine. In all of our cards here, there's no complications. Okay, so imagine there's nothing complicated, there's no concern, we're not concerned with something being wrong with mom or baby, right?
Sick.
So if we had to choose, would we prioritize higher freedom for labor to progress naturally without time constraints? Would that be more important to us than avoiding a cesarean and everything? Would we place it somewhere in between or down below?
Second. I say second.
Second? Okay. How about informed decision making for cervical exams? So what we mean by this is, you know, first of all, them being done with permission and consent, right? Second of all, the information that is being obtained from the cervical exams, we're able to make decisions like good communication, good decisions can be made, right? As opposed to things just happening because of how dilated we are versus the clock or something, okay? Where would we place that in order of importance? Priority.
Can you repeat the card?
Informed decision making for cervical exams.
Do that mean to know that you had the option to get that or not?
Part of it, that's part of it, but also if a cervical exam is performed, all the different points of information that they obtain from that exam, that it's not kind of being used in a way that you feel it's being used against you, right? Like we're not like, well, you're only 3, you know, you're only this, and look what time it is, right? But that we can get that information. Again, nothing's wrong in our scenario. There's no concern for mom or baby. So with that being said, are we able to be able to make decisions and not have our labor determined solely from information from a cervical exam based on dilation and effacement?
I think it's like for me the third, like underneath the right there.
Hell, man, me. I don't know.
Do we have a general? Does that generally sound good to everybody? We gotta kind of mostly agree. Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
Like Alabama, they said that you want cervical exam, or it's just
Yes.
I was about to say that's what I thought.
Yeah. That's all of it.
Information.
It's all of it. Yeah.
I feel like those go side by side.
Which of these, this and this?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm making you choose. So is it okay to leave here for this at
Yeah.
this point? Okay, how about choice and monitoring? So we're all planning home birth, but if a hospital birth becomes part of our story, usually we're seeing what we saw in the video. At a home birth, we're really using like the Doppler, all right? Do we feel okay with this? This order right now? How about unmedicated and or medicated labor options? That's a very kind of generic general statement, but the point is having options, being able to choose for yourself. Unmedicated labor options, medicated labor options. They're available to you and you have the freedom to choose what's best for you.
Above the C-section.
Above? Okay, above. So that's top. Top. How about freedom to deliver the placenta spontaneously? So the third stage of labor.
To deliver it spontaneously? What do you mean?
So the placenta comes away on its own after birthing baby, usually 5 minutes to 30 minutes maybe, 5 to 20 minutes, depends on the resource you read, but it's going to come away on its own, and sometimes care providers aren't interested in waiting for it to come away on its own. So even if there's not necessarily a problem or something wrong, they may, as part of their practice, actively manage the delivery of the placenta, which can include kind of tugging on the remainder of the umbilical cord to encourage it to come away from the uterine wall, things like that. Also, they may prophylactically provide administer Pitocin during the 3rd stage to reduce hemorrhaging. Some care providers do it. I mean, if you are hemorrhaging or having a problem, you're grateful for these things, right? But again, our cards here are in the event of no complications, there's nothing wrong, there's no cause for concern. What would you prioritize? So where would you place freedom to deliver the placenta spontaneously without it being unnecessarily managed?
Number 4. After, what is that, avoid episiotomy.
Okay. Next I have support team. That's having your preferred, desired, planned support team available to you. Okay, partners, doulas, whoever.
That need to be number 2.
So you need them to deliver.
After cesarean or before?
Before for me.
Before cesarean.
I need somebody to be there. If
Under-
they make me do that.
Under unmedicated?
Yeah.
Okay. And lastly, I have healthy mom and healthy baby.
Number 1.
So what we have collectively decided today is that our highest priority is healthy mother and healthy baby. Our second priority is unmedicated and or medicated labor options, just having choice on how to manage and how to progress to the labor. Our third priority is having our support team, our people there for us. Okay. Our fourth priority is avoiding a cesarean. Fifth, we have avoiding an episiotomy. Next, we have freedom to deliver the placenta spontaneously. Next, we have freedom for labor to progress naturally without time constraints. Then we have informed decision-making for cervical exams, freedom of mobility, freedom to choose pushing position. Then we have choice in monitoring, and lastly, we have the golden hour. Okay.
So you guys, this is the glucose test that I took. They come in a pack like that. That's the back of it. So you guys, this is the end of the first class. We come back next week for part 2.
It's time to take a nap.
You tired? Yeah, it was very informative. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next video.